Lou von Salome, Lou Salome. She wrote this book on Nietzsche. In English translation, it's just called Nietzsche. In the German, it's something like Nietzsche through his works. As the German title suggests, she took the view of treating Nietzsche's life and his works as inseparable, something suggested by Nietzsche's own philosophy, where he does state in Beyond Good and Evil that every philosophy is an unconscious autobiography. So in that, this probably the first monograph of Nietzsche in 1894 takes that position of Nietzsche's work going through phases, probably the first to do that, and something that's been quite commonplace now in Nietzsche commentary, where we look at the early works, the middle works, the late works, and the letters of madness, and so on and so forth. There's various ways you can have 3 to 4 or more distinctions, but the works mirror his life choices and his life movements and his life growth. The philosophy is totally entwined with the life story. So Nietzsche, through his works, is certainly a groundbreaking book in that sense. Probably not the deepest book on Nietzsche, but certainly for that it is useful. And also it contains Salome's view that Nietzsche was very much a religious thinker, that he was the most religious person she knew, etc. So again, it's probably the first book to put that position forward, as contentious as it remains. Of course, in 1894, Nietzsche was still alive, in a vegetative state, being cared for by his sister, and his sister found the book objectionable. She regarded it as exploitative, and I think Nietzsche's sister Elizabeth had a point there. After all, Lou Salome only knew Nietzsche for about 6 months in 1882, and while it was a very intense friendship, it was quite brief. And not only that, but while Nietzsche, Paul Ray, and Salome hoped, as that infamous picture on the front shows, to have a kind of threesome, an intellectual threesome, which Salome always indicated was something a bit more than intellectual as far as Nietzsche was concerned. They broke up with Salome and Ray decamping, leaving Nietzsche in the lurch, dumping him essentially in November 1882, leaving him incredibly upset, probably in deep despair, something he only got out of really by writing his Zarathustra. So something good did come out of it. And I always maintain that the eagle and the serpent in Zarathustra are in fact Salome and Ray, respectively, although I haven't seen that in any other commentary. So Nietzsche was treated shabbily by both Ray and Salome. Now, many say that Elizabeth, his sister, broke up that friendship, that she interfered. And there's a German film, recent film on Salome, which portrays Elizabeth in that kind of nasty way. But if we read between the lines, I think we can see that Nietzsche's sister actually had his best interests at heart. She had seen through Salome. She had seen that Salome was leading her brother along, and indeed Paul Ray, using them, ready to dump them. She had no real respect for Nietzsche, Now, Elizabeth knew this because Elizabeth still frequented the Wagner circles. Nietzsche was persona non grata with Wagner after writing Human All Too Human, as we know. But Elizabeth was still in the inner circles. And that year, 1882, Lou von Salome also frequented the inner circles of Wagner because, like Ray and all the rest of them, the Wagner circles were where they all kind of met and were known to each other, as well as the Salon of Malwida von Meysenberg, who was also an associate of Wagner. It is where Nietzsche and Salome met in Rome in 1882. So it got back to Elizabeth that Salome was ridiculing her brother behind his back, saying that his philosophy was a bit mad and that his interest in her was far more than just intellectual. And indeed, in various writings of Salome, she's put forward the story, which is in the film too, that Nietzsche had tried to kiss her and that she became very disappointed in that and stormed out. So I think we can say that Elizabeth is not the villain in the piece. She was actually trying to protect her brother. It's rare to hear the other side, but Elizabeth wrote a large book in 2 volumes here on her brother, the life of her brother, the life of Nietzsche, in 2 huge volumes, worth reading because she was actually there. And this is an English translation by Ludovici and Cohn. Strange how those who slag Nietzsche's sister off so much have never read a book by her. Perhaps if they read that, they might learn something. So I think we can safely say that while Lou von Salome's influence on Nietzsche led to the writing of Zarathustra, I think that's a fair conclusion to draw, and that her own book on Nietzsche, however exploitative, did begin the system of putting Nietzsche's work into phases which mirror his life phases. And we know, of course, that Lou von Salome went on to associate herself with the poet Rilke and the psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, who himself got much from Nietzsche, probably more than he would admit.